3 strikes and you're out. But that state law could be changing for youth offenders.
My grandmother would be strike number 3. My grandmother would be the reason that he spends life in prison.
Why some say it could do more harm than good. Lost barefoot in the cold, injured and stranded.
The area took for a female screaming behind the Chateau St. Michel Winery.
A missing woman's plea for help with a call answered from above. A deadly drug and innocent puppy saved from what crews believed was a suspected overdose.
So we ended up giving them Narcan to reverse it, and then one of the puppies was breathing so slowly that we did do some CPR on it.
And a small fortune in Pokémon cards stolen from an Everett business.
We've been broken into 4 times now. We've been armed robbed, countless snatch and grabs.
Hear from the owner who says he's not confident he'll ever see justice. Tonight in the Spotlight. Well, good evening and welcome to the Spotlight, and thank you for joining us. I'm David Rose, and we begin with a proposed bill this legislative session that critics say would put criminals' rights over victims' rights. Senate Bill 5949 would modify the definition of a persistent offender so that 3-strike felons serving life without parole could be released if their first strike was committed while they were under 18. If passed, the suspect accused of murdering Ruth Dalton, an 80-year-old dog walker in Seattle in 2024, could not be sentenced to life without parole if he's convicted. Jamette Haynes is currently in the King County Jail awaiting trial. This legislative session, her granddaughter is speaking out against the bill and how it applies to youth offenders. The Spotlight's Dan Griffin spoke with her as she pushes for accountability.
It's been about 16 months since she was killed, and we're no further along in the court process than we were the day she died.
For Melanie Roberts, every day since August 20th, 2024 has been spent in pursuit of justice. Seattle police say her 80-year-old grandma, Ruth Dalton, was violently carjacked and run over in the Madison Valley neighborhood by a then 48-year-old armed Jamette Haynes. She died. Her dog was found stabbed to death. While Roberts waits for Haynes' trial, she has taken her fight to Olympia. She slammed Senate Bill 5945 Tuesday.
Absolutely a slap in the face from people who are supposed to keep us safe.
The bill aims to change Washington's 3-strike law so that crimes someone commits before turning 18 would no longer count as a strike following an adult court conviction. It would also provide a roadmap for resentencing.
Would it make it okay if the drunk driver, rapist, robber, or murderer was under 18? Would the victim be any less violated, traumatized, or dead?
Haynes is an 8-time convicted felon. King County prosecutors say that includes a vehicular homicide case in 1993 when he was a minor charged as an adult. They say he already has 2 strikes. He avoided a 3rd strike through a plea deal in a Snohomish County case years before Dalton's death. Supporters of the bill say major court rulings and updated research about young brains signal it is time to change the law.
This bill will stop judges from being forced to sentence people to mandatory sentences of life in prison without the possibility of parole due to an offense committed while person was under the age of 18.
Our state Supreme Court ruled that juvenile strikes weren't a strike when they're kept in juvenile jurisdiction. So somebody who committed the exact same crime, who was the exact same age, that could have been born on the same day. But the only difference was they were kept in juvenile jurisdiction versus being tried as an adult.
Lawmakers say about 24 people could see their sentences revisited. Roberts says this change would be a mistake. She points to if Haynes were convicted this time.
My grandmother would be strike number 3. My grandmother would be the reason that he spends life in prison.
For the Spotlight, I'm Dan Griffin.
Shot in the back while driving on the freeway. Troopers say a man was hit in a road rage shooting while driving on I-5 in Seattle, and they need your help to find the car and the suspect responsible. State Patrol says it all began on northbound I-5 near Tukwila on January 14th, but it ended here in Seattle's South Lake Union neighborhood. The driver of this orange Subaru was shot in the back. His rear window shattered. Troopers say the driver pulled off to call 911. He was taken to the hospital and he is expected to be okay, but while he recovers, the suspect is still out there. WSP says the person who pulled the trigger was firing from the front passenger seat of a dark blue Oldsmobile minivan. Detectives described him as a heavy-set black man. If you saw anything leading up to this shooting or have information on the suspect or that minivan, please send an email to Detective Bergeron at judah.bergeron@wsp.wa.gov. Well, police in Renton are asking for your help to find this missing woman. This is Lucy Gerardo. Detectives say Lucy was last seen in November. Her friend, a man, told them he dropped her off in Renton, not far from Valley Medical Center. But Lucy hasn't been seen since. Before she was dropped off in Renton, officers say she was homeless in Seattle. At the time of her disappearance, Lucy was wearing black pants, black tennis shoes, and a black and green jacket. They say she had a small pink backpack and had a black wheeled suitcase. If you see her or you know anything about her disappearance, please call 911. A 15-year-old girl who disappeared from Port Orchard on December 10th has been found. This is a photo of Ashlyn Hanley and her mom. Port Orchard police say it was taken after the two were reunited. Ashlyn was listed as missing and endangered after video showed her getting into a black Buick Enclave in the parking lot of a bowling alley in Port Orchard. Detectives say the car was being driven by 45-year-old Lavelle Cotton, a convicted felon with a long criminal history that includes a murder conviction. So far, Cotton has refused to come in and speak with detectives, though he has talked to them on the phone. No arrest in the case has been made yet, but detectives say the investigation into Ashlyn's disappearance is still ongoing. When a woman went missing from her Kirkland apartment in the middle of the night recently, her mom reached out to me for help to spread the word. She was concerned because 27-year-old Janiyah Broadnax was having a mental crisis, was not dressed for the cold weather, and was believed to be barefoot. It wasn't until 2 agonizing days later that word came Janiyah had been found in the woods near Chateau Ste. Michelle Winery. And as you're about to see, credit for rescuing her goes to a King County Sheriff's drone pilot and winery janitors and security who called 911.
Fort William 2, Fort William 4, an area check for a female screaming behind the Chateau Ste. Michelle Winery.
It was just after 1:30 a.m. on Friday, January 9th, when the call for help came in. A King County Sheriff's deputy working nearby responded and launched his drone to search the dense wooded area west of the winery. Using thermal imaging, he spotted a figure on the ground.
We're getting a better look at it right now. It might be wildlife. It's just not 100% on it.
A closer look showed it was not human.
Yeah, Fort David, we found it again. It's wildlife.
Copy, wildlife.
It wasn't long, though, before the drone spotted another figure.
So I think we have actually a head moving around. It looks like a person laying down.
Janiyah Broadnax was injured and stranded. Deputies on the ground could hear her calling out.
I just heard another voice. It definitely sounds like a person, not like an animal.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were seeing here moving-wise. It looked like I said, it looked like a head and everything else.
She was in a fetal position, much of her clothes gone, including her shoes, and she was soaking wet.
Yeah, it's definitely them. The person is responding to our PA help, and they're waving their hands indicating they need help.
She was in bad shape when deputies reached her.
She's advising that her leg is broken, so she can't get up.
Fortunately, it wasn't broken, but she was suffering from hypothermia and would need to be carried out. Other deputies, King County Search and Rescue, and Kirkland Police and Fire showed up to help.
You set over there?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna bring her down, set her down right on that floor.
I know it hurts.
I know. We're gonna get you on. I know. Okay. On 3. Okay, all ready? 3.
They slowly walked her over to the base of a tree and covered her with a blanket to keep her warm, while they developed a plan to get her to safety.
There you go. There's a tree right behind you you can lean right up on. Okay?
Fort David, we're going to need fire to meet the 2 coming back. You're going to have to walk in with her.
Once secured on the stretcher, she was taken to Evergreen Hospital and reunited with her mom. Janiyah's mom says her daughter is currently hospitalized and she is getting the help she needs. She is extremely grateful to the first responders who saved Janiyah's life, and she plans to write a book on what to do when a loved one goes missing. Well, the man accused of murdering a 27-year-old Bothell woman pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder with a firearm enhancement. Sean Harris is being held in the Mason County Jail without bail. A hiker found Mallory Barber's nude body in an area north of Shelton in September. She had been missing since June. Detectives say she was shot in the back of the head and in the ribs. The State Patrol Crime Lab confirmed that 2 shell casings found near Barber matched to a gun that belonged to Harris. We talked with Mallory's mom about how she's coping since the arrest.
Little in my wildest dreams did I think that I would lose my daughter at such a young age. And she just had a birthday. So with friends around me, I was able to get through that birthday.
Harris's attorney noted in court that his client will need medical treatment for a flesh-eating bacteria inside his nose. His trial is set for next March. 19 years ago, a woman's body was found at the entrance to a Thurston County gravel pit. Well, tonight, Thurston County Sheriff's detectives are renewing their call for help to bring her family justice. This is Karen Bodine, who was just 37 years old when she was murdered. On January 22nd, 2007, someone killed Karen and dumped her naked body on the side of Little Rock Road Southwest, north of Rochester. But all these years later, there's still no arrest and no answers for her family. The Spotlight Shira Matsuzawa spoke with her daughter last year.
The killer or killers out there, it's really hard. They could be in line behind you at Safeway getting milk. They could be at the gas pump behind you. Like, you never know. Like, there's a killer walking around, and that's not okay. Someone knows something and they're just not giving it up, and that's not okay. And we're here to tell you that we're going to get you. The end.
The Thurston County Sheriff's Office says anyone could have information to crack the case, and if you do, you're asked to get in touch with them. A crook steals several Pokémon cards worth thousands of dollars, and the entire smash and grab is caught on camera. The Spotlight's AJ Janavel says the store owner isn't confident that catching the crook will even do much good.
Busted the window. You see him swinging the axe.
Everett police, if you're inside, you are committing a burglary and you will be under arrest.
You feel very violated.
Early Thursday morning, Michael Doran, owner of Mugu Games in Everett, got a rude wake-up call. A crook smashed into his store just before 1 in the morning. Doran tells me the thief went right to where his most expensive cards are located and got away with nearly 24 high-end Pokémon cards and caused massive amounts of damage in just a few minutes.
This one we figured out is going to be someplace between $30,000 to $40,000.
Doran tells me that money is most likely out of his own pocket because going through insurance might cost his business even more. Unfortunately, Doran's no stranger to these types of visits.
We've been broken into 4 times now. We've been armed robbed, countless snatch and grabs, just all sorts of stuff.
And even though police arrived within a few minutes, Doran says because of past experiences, he's not confident he'll see justice.
When you feel like they could break in here, show their ID to the video camera, and nothing would ever happen to them. I mean, that is what it feels like as a business owner here in Everett. Is, like I said, I've had multiple accounts where we've called the police. They know who the person is by name. They've known to be, and they won't do anything because the prosecutor doesn't do anything.
For the Spotlight, I'm AJ Janavel.
We'll take a look at the suspect on your screen because this thief is still out there. If you have information, call Everett Police right there at the number 425-257-8450. A law meant to help families is instead leaving kids in dangerous drug-ridden homes. The change families and one lawmaker say they want to see happen. Should an unelected state board have the power to unseat an elected sheriff? That's the topic up for heated debate in Olympia with a new proposed bill. Several sheriffs testified against Senate Bill 5974. It would do many things like change the eligibility of who can become an elected sheriff with added requirements to keep the position. But the biggest concern for many sheriffs is the fact the bill gives an unelected board, the State Criminal Justice Training Commission, the unprecedented power to unseat an elected sheriff.
Citizens reach out to me all the time regarding overreach of the government by you.
I think right now we should be turning to voters more often. We should be allowing voters to have more control over their elected officials. And I don't like the sentiment that this bill allows the state to intervene in that process. Give voters more control, not less. That is how we fix the divide in our country.
The main sponsor of this measure is Senator John Lovick. The former Snohomish County Sheriff spoke to those concerns, saying decertification is based on a set of standards.
Peace officers do not lose their certification simply because they are unpopular. There are objective standards for decertification. Since all peace officers must maintain their certification, these laws need to be updated to make clear what occurs when a law enforcement leader certification is revoked for misconduct.
Lovick went on to say it's time to modernize standards across the state to keep up with the times. The Keeping Families Together Act was intended to crack down on racial and economic injustice within Child Protective Services. But critics say it's forced kids to remain in dangerous and deadly situations in the custody of their biological parents who are addicted to drugs like fentanyl. As we previously reported, 92 children died or almost died in those homes just in the first half of 2025. The Spotlight's A.J. Janavel shows us how a new bill is trying to make it easier for the state to remove kids in potentially deadly drug environments.
People knew that disaster was going to strike, and people reached out, and there was no help for him.
For the rest of his life, Sarah Strode says her adopted son Leo will live with the impacts of someone else's neglect.
Leo was left in a shed by his bio parents, unattended, with a space heater hanging above him in a strapped car seat and a blanket over the top of that.
Her adopted daughter Matilda shares a tragically similar story. Strode tells me the reason for her children's fate is due in a large part to the Keeping Families Together Act.
And it's just wishful thinking that parents that are actively abusing drugs or have criminal histories are going to change and learn how to safely parent.
It's a controversial law intended to help families, but many believe it is doing more harm than good. Like in 2024, when the Jefferson County prosecutor blamed the Keeping Families Together Act for the death of a 3-week-old boy. After the infant was left in the care of his father, who officials knew was a drug addict.
We cannot stand aside and watch them die any longer.
Representative Travis Couture says he has support from both Democrats and Republicans to pass a new law he tells me will fix the unintended consequences of the Keeping Families Together Act.
We're just not getting the answers and we're not getting the results. And, you know, even here at this rally, you have a lot of DCYF employees and social workers who work for DCYF who are fed up because you have social workers with caseloads of 30, 40, 50, and they know that when they go back to that home the next day, there is a high likelihood that child will be dead.
For the Spotlight, I'm A.J. Janavel.
A Tacoma teen has been released from jail after deputies say he stole his brother's car and took it for a joyride. Pierce County Sheriff's deputies say the 18-year-old driver of this Dodge Challenger was clocking speeds up to 80 miles an hour. During the pursuit, he ran red lights and swerved around other cars. That speed would prove challenging for him after a roundabout. The Challenger ended up on its side after crashing into several parked cars. The teen then began to climb out of the car from the window.
Keep your hands up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Stop. Down to your knees.
When deputies cuffed him, they say the 18-year-old driver told them he didn't stop because he, quote, forgot his wallet. But sheriff's deputies say he smelled of alcohol. The 18-year-old denied drinking anything, but did agree to a field sobriety test. Deputies ordered a blood draw. They're still waiting for the evidence to be sent back by the State Patrol Crime Lab. The teen told deputies it was his brother's car he took without asking. Documents say he changed his story several times that night. Judge Michael Schwartz released the teen on his own recognizance. He's facing charges for eluding and reckless driving. Well, it's more than just a neighborhood staple in Tacoma. Spud's Pizza Parlor is an institution known for things like sponsoring youth baseball and softball to feeding hungry kids during the summer. The Pizza Parlor has been part of Tacoma's South End community for generations, going back to the 60s. But after a fire last year, there were a lot of obstacles for the restaurant's newest owner. Tracy Paul wasn't counting on all of those obstacles. Vandals breaking in and pilfering what was left behind, including thousands of dollars worth of inventory, liquor, and memorabilia that she can never replace.
They had a lot of time in here. They took all of my jerseys. We spent years collecting those. One of them is completely irreplaceable. The damage that they did, they ripped out camera wires, they ripped out the Ethernet wires, they destroyed my camera system. There's holes all throughout the building, and for really no reason. The fire department responding to the call.
Since the fire back in August, Tracy says there have been no less than 5 break-ins. She has filed a police report in hopes that insurance can cover some of the losses. But she tells us her policy has now lapsed because there's no revenue. If you know who was involved in any of these burglaries, please contact the Tacoma Police Department. Well, half a dozen puppies saved from a possible overdose. How crews stepped in to help 6 dogs showing signs of fentanyl exposure. 6 puppies in Gold Bar are safe after they were rescued from a possible exposure to fentanyl. Sky Valley fire crews say people showed up to their front door with the puppies completely unresponsive. As the Spotlight's Jennifer Dowling reports, crews were concerned those puppies might not make it.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. This heart-melting pile of puppies is drinking it all in after a whirlwind rescue Sunday. The rescuers breathing a sigh of relief now that the puppies are situated safely at the shelter.
We were worried that we weren't going to be able to to save the initial 3.
Sky Valley Battalion Chief Brandon Vargas says when 2 people drove up unannounced Sunday, the crews were surprised they were asking for medical help for these non-human patients.
Had them in their arms and gave us these 3 unresponsive dogs.
Vargas says the dogs were barely breathing and appeared to be suffering from an overdose, so they grabbed their medical kit.
You give them the Narcan in the nose. So that's what we did with the puppies. And then we ended up having to give them, 2 of them a shot as well.
The drug fentanyl can come in the form of a powder or pill, and it can shut down an animal's system to the point of death, just like a human.
The first 3 were definitely the worst. So we gave about 3 to 4 rounds of Narcan per dog.
He says after they gave them a dose, a few minutes later, the puppies would start to go downhill. So they added another dose. But for one of the puppies, crews had to give them CPR.
So we were here treating them for probably about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour with Narcan before they were up and running around.
After it appeared the dogs were revived, the people who brought them in took off. Based on the vehicle description, deputies found them.
And they went to the house and ended up finding 3 more puppies that had been exposed. Only one of those dogs needed Narcan.
While the sheriff's office investigates, the crew has since fallen in love with their former patients, and some are considering adopting.
We're hopeful that at least some of them will come and be family members.
For the Spotlight, I'm Jennifer Dowling.
Well, the puppies are now at the Everett Animal Shelter. They will eventually be put up for adoption. That's going to do it for us tonight on The Spotlight. Until next week, I'm David Rose. Please stay safe.